We gotta show the truck a little bit too. Look at that huge big truck up there. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I am sure as people are coming in, I'm sure we'll say good morning all over again. And good morning, Catherine. I know you're there. Ooh. Can you hear us okay, first off? Kind of, sort of, first off? I didn't shut some of these notifications off, but that's all right. So, I'm in Baja. This is I'm north of Cabo a little bit if you're looking at the maps. And I'm with friend. Do I call you a friend?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, I'm with Michael from Drive the Globe, and that's that big orange truck kind of behind and beside us. And so we have managed, thank you, Michael, for having Starlink, because boy, am I glad I get to use that while we're down here. Otherwise, I'd be incommunicado.
We are pretty far off grid here, like on the East Cape on a dirt road. But it's beautiful, right? We're overlooking like the water and the whales, and it's 85 degrees out.
That's right. 85, but man, at night, does it feel like it's 40 or something?
I know.
I mean, and it's not 40, but...
You look at the temperature and it says 68, and it feels like 48.
Right. So, let's see, a little bit of... Lots of people are going to come in, and so Catherine and Beth and you, all the regulars, help me out if I forget to do some housekeeping things, right? People who have questions, if you would please just put 3 capital uppercase Q's first so that we notice there's a question. Michael's got his phone running. I've got my phone running on my side. I have to kind of keep opening my page again. And we've got the Chromebook, the laptop working so we could sit here together and do this. Let's see. Don't forget, we have super chats and super thanks, and I appreciate when you guys hit those buttons and give me donations, because as most of you know, $50 will fill my gas tank, and $20 is half a tank of gas, and I just appreciate that as often as it happens. And I don't like to be an e-beggar, so I'm not trying to do that. I am down here on a budget. And it might scare some people if I told you how much money is left in my bank account right now. But it's enough gas money to get back to the States. And if I get too short, I will just wait for payment. So, it can only be so bad. I've had a couple of interesting things happen with learning how to drive my tracker for... That's a whole new thing. Oh, good. I'm glad the sound is good. You guys know periodically I will stop and check and see what the messages are and make sure that I can say hi. Shadow Wolf, if you come in or if you're there, if you're watching this later on the replay or whatever, yes, I want one of your old GoPros. Yes, please, please, please. I don't know where we can meet up when I get back to the States, but I'm most likely coming back in somewhere around Yuma again. I'm not sure.
Shadow Wolf just said it's 36 degrees on the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little bit cooler than the 85 here.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. Shadow Wolf was a trucker too, along with Saznik. Let's see. Other housekeeping things. Having the most fun doing with this whole keep living simply community thing is this Sunday Live has been really good for us, and I like that we're able to come out here and just chit chat and check in with each other every week and give each other a little bit of support and remember to do. And so I'm glad we have that connection. For me, learning how to reconnect with human beings has been a process because I practiced an awful lot being all alone. And so any encouragement that I can give you guys to keep doing stuff, even if you don't want to go play with four-wheel drive and you don't, you can live vicariously through other people this way, and it works. So, Michael, it's been so cool to drive nearly 22 hours hours into another country to come hang on the beach and visit with you.
I know. Think about it. It's basically miles from the border to here, and it's quite the journey. And you guys all came in the other day, so I'm kind of excited to see you. I haven't seen any of you guys since Overland Expo. And which one? I don't remember. The last one's Pacific Northwest, probably, right?
No, Colorado for you and I.
No, I wasn't in Colorado. That's the only one I was not at.
That's right, Pacific Northwest.
Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, because I wasn't able to go to East.
Right.
I got COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Bummer. Because my kids wanted to see me. We haven't seen each other in 15 years or something. So I don't know how good I'm going to be at doing an interview because all my followers know this is kind of new. But whatever.
All good.
So Michael, I'm going to be taking the glasses on and off here as we do this. But Michael, you have been at this most of your adult life, at adventuring of some kind, right?
Yeah, I mean, I started out mostly Land Rovers. Well, actually, originally, as we talked about last night about the campfire, I started out backpacking across Africa for a year. And then that kind of spread into the truck thing. And I did Land Rovers, and I've done Jeeps over the years. And now I have this, you probably can see on the camera here.
Monster, yeah.
How
big are those tires?
48 inch.
48-inch tires, people. I mean, that's like tractor tires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's my overland. I live full time. I've been on the road for 3 years now. Living full time on the road, driving around. Originally set out to go around the world, but then COVID hit, and borders closed down, and shipping was a problem, and whatnot. It got very expensive, so I've largely just stuck to Canada, U.S., and Mexico. And I come down here for the winter. I've been down in Baja since November. So.
And you've been coming to Baja for a lot of years.
I've been coming to Baja for a lot of years, but more recently it's been a truck-based thing. So that's been interesting. I've kind of gone everywhere throughout the continent, or throughout the peninsula of Baja. And this year I got the opportunity to do the Baja Divide. So if you look on my channel on Drive the Globe, I filmed a thing. A friend of mine and I rode our bicycles from San Diego, California, down here. So we took the better part of.
And people, you heard that, right? Let's emphasize that. Bicycles.
And I tell people, it doesn't matter what your mode of transport is, right? It could be a truck, it could be a motorcycle, it could be a bicycle, and ultimately,
and can be the shoes.
And it could be the shoes. That's so true. So true.
And those of you people who know me because of RTRs, which is Rubber Tramp Rendezvous, that's something we talk about out there too. If it's got rubber on it, you're part of that gang. Well, rubber tramps, had vehicles that had wheels. So it's anything that had on them. But leather tramps were hobos and whatever because their shoes were leather, and that's what hit the road. So, and so the backpacking and stuff, which is stuff that I started out. Once I went to a foreign country the first time, and I'd been in Canada as a child, but I would say the first time I kind of did some serious travel was in probably the late 80s, early 90s, and I went to Australia. And once that happened, it was like, okay, this isn't. I went to Australia. I had $20 in my pocket. I mean, I had no money. I had a plane ticket, but I had no money. And so that was like, I'm just going to do it, And
that's when you get into the travel bug, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Same for me. I mean, when we went to Africa, we didn't know anything about anything, and we stayed mostly in youth hostels and you name it, people's houses and underneath, in the desert with nothing over you, and you just wing it.
That's right. And you do, that winging it, I think, is one of the best adventures I ever, found. And when I found out in Central America that you can hang a hammock at most any hostel for $3, I was like, I'm done. I'll cook people dinner, and that'll help me get the $3 so I can keep going. Yeah. So
it's interesting you should bring that up because you flash forward so many years. Here we are sitting in beautiful Baja.
Right.
The beach is right behind the screen that we're looking at.
Let me do this for a second. It's going to be a little weird for y'all, but I'm going to do that.
Spin them around.
Yeah. Can you see that on your phone? Not yet. It's a couple of seconds
yeah,
behind us.
Yeah, there you go. You're spinning now. So.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There's the beach.
There you go,
I see
beach
it.
right
Yeah,
there.
Yeah. Water.
Oh, and there's Michael's. I'll go this way. There's
Motorcycle.
Michael's motorcycle, which he also travels on, and his bicycle back there.
That's right.
Did it get it?
Yep.
Good? Yeah, it got it. Okay. So I could do full circle, and then you see the whole thing. There we go.
There we are. But I mean, the gist is we are here inexpensively, right? Because it's free.
Yeah.
This is not this is free rent location. And so we're parked in a sandy arroyo, a dry riverbed in beautiful Baja.
Right. And I haven't seen the vendors come through yet because we haven't been here that long. But it's pretty inexpensive to like keep your even in a situation like this in a place like Baja. Right?
Yeah, I mean we're located, just so you guys understand, is it's probably about a 50-mile stretch of dirt road on what they call the East Cape side of southern Baja. But and there's not a lot of traffic. I mean, I don't think we've seen a car go by since we've been sitting here. But occasionally, a couple times a week, they come by with produce, vegetables, and fruit, and sometimes frozen chicken and whatnot. The rancher that's 5 miles up the arroyo here cooks us meals, a couple times a week sometimes. So it's kind of funny being so far off grid, but it's almost like feels like full service.
Right. Yeah, and that was common in places I've been before as well. And you found that in other countries, I expect.
Central America, Africa, for sure, definitely, yeah. Because that's how, unlike in the States, where we're accustomed to going to, grocery stores or whatnot, where everything's prepackaged and set up. Most people around the world are accustomed to, eating is obviously a staple of life. That's the number one thing that people are trying to do.
Right.
And you're sourcing your food more on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
You don't have the equipment to refrigerate as much, and so things don't last. But the good side of that is you're getting fresh things all the time. I think I eat better down here, as an example, than I do back in the States, where you're more inclined to grab your prepackaged thing that's quick and easy, right?
Right.
And here it's more fresh vegetables and fresh caught fish. We're parked here. There's a fish camp right over here.
Right close.
And oftentimes we're eating something that was caught hours before.
Right. I can't wait for that because I am this week. I'm adding fish back to my diet. Some of you guys out here that know me well know I've been on the lion diet for 4 months, and I thought I was stalled and I was having some trouble with it, and I was a little concerned about how I was going to travel and do that. But with my history of having lived in Central America so long, I knew people still eat meat, so I knew it wasn't going to be that hard. It just would be different, and I didn't know if I could afford it. Because I figured if I was trying to get a steak like an American would want, it probably would be expensive and imported. And so I was like, I just got to be open to whatever the possibilities were. And it was really, really simple to, I haven't had any trouble finding meat. And I even found really inexpensive carne seca, which is dry beef.
Yep.
And you can get it spiced or unspiced. And so it's only meat and sea salt, and that's it. And I bought I don't know how many bags of sea salt because I like different salts. Right? Yeah. And I'm drinking Topo Chico instead of water. I'm just drinking that.
Yeah. I go through. Yeah. It's so dry here in a desert climate. I probably go through close to a gallon of water a day. I find I drink a ton of water.
And there's cactus here. I mean, it is desert. Yeah. I was a little surprised but I don't know why. I guess I just didn't look up what the plants were before I came. But.
One of the things people are surprised, and I, even myself included, originally I used to think Baja, the peninsula, was basically a long sandbar, and there's nothing farther from the truth. I mean, it is super mountainous, as you saw, driving the 1,000 miles down. It is rugged, very mountainous,
and the little roads with these big hairpin turns,
all the switchbacks,
and some of you guys don't know this yet, but my speedometer is not working in my car. And so I have no idea how fast I'm going, but I know when it comes to the car leaned. And I've had one incident where a loaded Mexican military truck came around the corner in my lane. I am so grateful I'm little because there was nowhere to go.
Oh, nowhere to go, yeah.
And I was enough slower behind everybody else that it wasn't like when you drive in a convoy with people who are ex-military or maybe have more overland convoy or rally experience.
For you guys, they came down. I don't know if you mentioned that to them before. You got a group of 6 vehicles.
Yeah.
In your little train.
Good vibe tribe thing.
Yeah, the good vibe tribe.
Yeah, but as we were driving, their intention was to stay about 5 car lengths from each car, and us to move like a caterpillar on the road. Right, we're all kind of doing the same things, and so the car in the lead would say, passing whatever the vehicle is, all clear ahead, and they would keep going. Go ahead, clear, still clear. Lesa, your turn, clear. You know. Okay, another problem I'm having with the tracker that I believe they might fix today or tomorrow is evidently, I didn't even know about this. I mean, I've heard about throttle cables before, but I didn't know. I thought I was driving wrong, okay? Because y'all who know me know that I go first too. It's always my fault, right? Crap, childhood, but whatever. And they would be like, hit the skinny pedal, go, 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 it's all clear, right? Well, I would hit my skinny pedal, the gas pedal, and there's this spot in our gas pedal, well, in my gas pedal, where you hit it just right, and it'll downshift, and then it'll give it a little more oomph to go faster, or to pass somebody, or get up a hill, or whatever. Well, mine, it gets to that point, and I'll be just mashing it, and it just goes...
Yeah, so either the cable is slipping on the clamp on it or something, or there's something not right.
One of the guys said they thought it was, Alex the other day was kind of, and he touched a couple of things. He goes, that's loose, isn't that loose? Mm-hmm. And Jason said something, so I think they're going to try just adjusting it, but they already figured out that my speedometer thing, that's a cable, and they're like, that's too much work. Just don't worry about it. You're with us. And I'm like, well, I'm way off from y'all. I don't know how fast I'm going. So, but yeah, so I guess my throttle cable is not quite right, so they're going to try to adjust that. Maybe I'll be able to pass people better. Maybe I'll be able to stay closer with the group. But when we're doing those mountain passes, I had to lag behind. I couldn't do it. Which
there's some serious curves, and when they say, you'll see a sign that says 15 kilometers an hour.
They mean it.
They mean it.
And when you see, one arrow might be in one place, one arrow might be the one that's kind of a nearly an L. They mean slow your ass down. Well, sorry about language, but slow down because you got to nearly stop to make the corner. And then sometimes there'll be 5 or 6 arrows, and then that's a serious one too. It's the signs are different. Yep. There's more markings on the roads. There's more of those little barely raised bumps to slow you down as you're going into something. And
they get closer as you get closer, so it goes, and it speeds up. So, Mexico has, here in Baja particularly, has really great roads. I mean, the pavement is in good condition, the main roads, and there's really only 4 in Baja. But you have to understand, they're very narrow. They're very narrow. They don't use any extra asphalt, let's put it that way.
Right, and there's nothing on either side.
No guardrails usually, nothing on either side. I tell people, like, if you had a choice of hitting an oncoming car or swerving to miss, I'd hit the oncoming car. Because if you go off,
nobody will find you.
You're done, yeah.
Yeah, because it's an awful long ways down. Yeah, awful long ways down. Yeah. So, lots of people down here tow. Obviously, Americans or Canadians, quite a few Germans, all down here towing things. Lots of vehicles towing.
And the roads, that's why I tell people never drive at night, drive slowly, obey the speed limits because they're serious. You've got cows, you've got goats, you've got, broken down cars, you've got horses with wagons behind them, you've got, a lot of Mexican cars that are probably not going to meet any kind of inspection.
Yeah, they don't do inspections, so
No.
some cars are pretty rough looking.
Pretty rough looking, sometimes you'll see a pickup truck that has, hay bales stacked, I don't know how
way,
high.
way over.
Way
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
So
yeah,
you got to be careful.
yeah. And so it is possible though. When you do the big driving with this, do you do what I tend to do, which is only drive so many hours and find a place to camp for free, and then
Yeah, I mean,
as much as you can?
yeah, I kind of have a motto anyways. I'm not in any rush, so I tend to take it easy. I don't like to drive more than 140, 150 miles a day, honestly. And I have a rule: 3:30 in the afternoon
Yep.
is done.
Yep.
Get into camp, be able to set up, relax, unwind for the day.
Right.
That's important because, especially if you're going to do it more than a couple days in a row, you need sleep. Right?
Yeah, and this being in the group has their idea of how far to drive and how many hours or whatever is different from mine, and we're all different ages. So I'm the older one with the vintage car, with and so it's quite a different experience. And Jason and Melinda, MJK Adventures. He's ex-military and was in Iraq and Iran, or am I saying the right countries?
Yep.
Anyways,
Afghanistan
too. Yeah. So he knows how to drive in sand, but his truck is huge and heavy and loaded. And I can't even imagine how, when the semi's coming on these 2-lane roads in the mountain, how he's getting by them without clipping mirrors or something. I mean, he's wide.
Last year, funny you say that. Last year with my truck, now, I mean, the truck obviously looks bigger than it is, but I clipped my mirror on an oncoming semi. We just went tap, and I go, oh, whoops. And but that's how narrow these roads are. I mean, their main Transpeninsular 1, which is the main route that goes down, really is like an American. It's not even a secondary road. It's
just a country town road.
Country town road. That's right.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, many Americans would just go, "Oh, this is crazy."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you know how to drive, you can do these things. I downloaded offline Google Maps. My phone service is not working, but we already knew that wasn't going to happen. But I've been traveling with a group that has Starlink, and then Michael has Starlink here. And if I could afford it, and I can't right now, but if I could, I would be buying my Starlink in Mexico at the price that they've got it, because it evidently is.
Yeah, Starlink is based on country, so in Mexico it just happens to be about a third of the price that it is in the States, interestingly enough. And so it depends on what country they've priced it according to what I guess supposedly they believe is affordable for that particular country.
Right, for the most people, yeah. So, like I said, I do not have, I have already gotten into my emergency fund, and I do not have enough money to go ahead and buy the Starlink here, but it is a lot cheaper. Let's see, but because of that, so I'm still using my low-income free phone from the States when I have Wi-Fi available, and I've been able to get some messages back and forth, even on my phone thing, but more of them through the Facebook Messenger and things like that. Those messages are going through better. What's the other thing? Because some of you want to know that. But downloading the offline maps is working really well.
I did that. I've done that as well. That's definitely, I highly recommend that, because the cell coverage, even if you have a great cell coverage plan down here, really is limited to cities and larger towns. But most of this is off grid. I mean, even where we are, 50 miles either direction, there's no electricity or anything. I mean, this is off grid.
Right.
The cell coverage is pretty poor.
Right. And Sheila, Mama's Got Wheels, who's with us, her phone, she and her husband paid Verizon for service to work in Mexico, and she still can't make hers work. She's been on the phone with Verizon I don't know how many times, but she can't make it work.
I've told people before, I've had a couple friends that also were on Verizon, realistically, if you're going to come down here and spend any time in Mexico, you really want to be on a GSM cell plan, which is in America that's AT&T or T-Mobile.
T-Mobile.
Verizon is on CDMA technology, just simply not out of the United States. That's not what you want to be on.
Not working.
No.
Yeah. But it is good to know that even on inexpensive phones, you can make the GPS maps work. You can't, however, away from service, it's very difficult to search on those maps and find anything because they don't update enough. But you can find the roads. So, okay. Yeah. Are you checking messages?
I'm just looking to see what the chatter is.
Okay. I see some long chatters.
Discussing Baja and realizing that Baja California is part of Mexico.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because it is confusing because it's got Baja California, right?
Right, that's what it says. But California was here before a state was here.
That's right.
Yeah.
And for those out there, Baja, the peninsula of Baja is actually two Mexican states, Baja California and Baja California Sur, of which we are in. And it's about 50-50 split. So the northern state and the southern state, they are the last two states admitted to Mexico. So, and another fact that people don't sometimes know, it's the United States of Mexico is actually the country, similar to the United States. And the states are very independent down here. So some of the laws and some of the things that you're going to find, even in Baja, what I call Baja North and Baja South, are very different.
I wonder if that tire would fit on my road trek.
Maybe.
I don't know. You'd have to lift it.
Yeah.
A monster road truck.
That
would be an interesting.
That would be
fun.
fun.
Yeah. Because they're small enough to be.
People ask me about these tires all the time because the U.S. Army. It's just an Army truck.
Right.
They procure when they build a series of vehicles as an LMTV, and they built a lot of them actually, and they still do. These tires are actually about $280 a piece, U.S., which is comparatively compared to people are always surprised that they assume they're way more expensive than that.
Right.
Not that it's cheap, but I mean you can easily spend that for a tire on a pickup truck too.
Well, and some of the schoolie people, some of their tires are $1,000 a piece.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
So maybe having it's a Stevenson truck.
It's a store in Stevenson. It was built in Sealy, Texas. So yeah, it's an American. This truck originally, the Americans actually took a design here out of Austria and bought the platform and then put in an American drivetrain. So it's a Caterpillar engine and Allison transmission. But
cool.
And they still make them now. They're armored now, and they're made Oshkosh. It's whoever has the government contract at any given time who makes the truck.
Yeah. Okay. So I doubt Wolf is out here today because he doesn't usually get on the lives.
Shadow Wolf?
No, there's another guy, Wolf.
But
sometimes he's on some of the other sites like the hammock forums and stuff like that as low tech. He has a 6-wheel drive 71 Deuce and a Half.
Yep.
And he has his veggie oil processing plant in the bed of the truck. And then he has a similar age communication trailer that he built into his camper.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So he has a nice little setup. And he's gotten into hammock camping lately. So he's, but I've known him a number of years too. So it's a similar, but he has to do all that old school shifting stuff. You don't have to do that, right?
No, this is a 7-speed automatic transmission push button.
Yeah, I can't even.
Which is interesting. It's pretty far. This is a 1994, so it's not really a new truck by any stretch of the imagination. But the technology was pretty advanced, I guess, back then.
Yeah, it's great. You don't have all the levers. He has to work to drive that.
Yeah, those I've driven Deuce and a Half, and there's some work.
He story, guys, but he was on his way to my place one year, and halfway from St. John's out to Witchwell, where my property is, one of his tires and one of his axles, something happened to it. He texted me, so I knew he was okay, but he was fixing something.
Yeah.
And he limped into my place with some big link chain tied around one of the missing tires axle parts or something, and I don't even know how he did it because I'm not that mechanically minded. But he limped in without that tire, he didn't get to visit much because he was shopping for a tire.
Right.
Had to go to Bisbee to get one.
Yeah.
So that was a whole thing. What do you guys want to know more about? Let's get some questions up here because I haven't seen many questions yet. Because I know this is kind of different, guys. But do you have some questions for us? My rig is doing really good. I am, at some point, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it before we go home because at this stage of the game, I'm making sure that most of my money is slated just for gas. It cost me a little, right around $300 in gas to come down.
It's interesting. Here in Mexico, the price of gas in Baja here is more expensive than many parts of the United States. But diesel, of which I run on, is actually much cheaper than the United States. So go figure.
Yeah. I think the gas prices are more similar to like maybe California or something.
Yeah, maybe a little less than California, but most of the western states, yeah.
But and my car, I mean, I am so grateful that my car's lightweight and, gas mileage is good in it. And I'm not getting the same gas mileage because we've already aired down my tires, which is helping tremendously. I'm not sure if we need to air them down more, but I don't have my own air compressor, so I got to stick closer to people if we do more airing down. And, I've made a couple of rookie mistakes. Like, I didn't understand when other people were airing down that was when I should have shifted into four-wheel drive. So I came into here with two-wheel drive. And then I figured it out, and I went, nobody mentioned. I thought I asked the right question. And they're like, well, how come you didn't ask? And I was like, well, I didn't know to ask. How do I know to ask?
Sand every time.
But, and how many cars have gone on this beach and just, I don't know. We've seen them plowing sand. I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
And they don't plow very long before they're just stuck.
I would say 5 or 10 a day we get stuck here occasionally, yeah.
So that's kept the crowd busy.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
Better than TV.
It is entertainment, yeah. And really nice being able to have the campfires. There's plenty of driftwood around to burn, so we haven't had to...
Yeah, so that's what's interesting about Baja here, where we are. It pretty much does not rain except when there's a hurricane. And the hurricanes will make this arroyo flow. So we're basically camped in a riverbed.
In a big wash.
Big wash, yep.
Yeah,
and
big.
And it just doesn't run except when there's a hurricane, which on average is probably only, once out of every 5 years. But what's nice about it is it brings down all sorts of wood from the mountains.
From the mountains.
So it's almost like having unlimited firewood here,
Right. So, that's been really nice. Although I don't know what kind of tree we're burning or wood we're burning, but man, it stung my eyes the other night. A couple of us we had to stay out of the smoke, which as a long distance hiker, I don't mind smoke, and I'm not allergic to it. Some people are, but I know it makes your clothes not stink from people smells.
That's true.
If you smoke things, it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't spoil the same. Anyway, but that's a little tough. Whatever the wood is, we're burning.
Yeah, it depends on what wood you get here. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I was down here last year. The supply of wood was a lot more because there had been a hurricane the year before, so it's just as we've used it up, it's dwindling.
Right.
So we need another hurricane, I guess, so we can get our wood
to bring some
back.
more wood down. Let's see. Solar lights are working good down here. My little rig, my build. You guys know I don't really have a build because I like to keep things simple, but I am going to switch from those ammo crates I've been using in the back because the handles are using up a good 6 or 8 inches of space, and you figure 6 or 8 inches by, I don't know, 29, 30 inches long. That's almost the size for one of the small lawn chairs to fit in or something, and I've got 3 spots like that aren't being used, so I'm going to end up making a little 5.5 inch high
platform
in the back so I can tuck things underneath, because it's getting to be a little annoying that I got to move this to get to that, and too many times. I've been running with the cooler that Bernie, thank you Bernie again if you're out there, that Bernie bought me in Yuma. I love that little cooler. That roto molded one is actually working. And block ice was easy to find.
Yep.
I might not get block ice here. I might be able to, but I might not. I might just get ice. But at this stage of the game, I've switched from the fresh meat right now to, because we're sitting still for over a week or around a week. I've switched from the fresh meat to the dry meats right now, and some canned fish, and we'll get fresh fish. And I won't keep it in the cooler. We'll just eat it the day we get it.
Exactly.
But what's now is lots of Topo Chico, so I might just put some ice cubes in there and keep that cool. But that cooler's been working for such a small size. It actually, I've had a lot of things that didn't work in the past.
Yeah.
And I think my refrigerator would work well, but that's still, you guys know, that's still a system that in the end is going to end up costing around $1,000 to make it work right. And so sometimes I just feel like it's not worth it. So you can maneuver with a cooler.
Oh, absolutely.
You can maneuver on a budget.
I mean, I love your rig for the very reason that it's so simple. And, the less things that I tell people all the time, the less things you have, the less chances something goes wrong.
That something's going to break, or that somebody wants to steal it from you.
Exactly.
I mean, to me, that just solves lots of problems.
True. Yeah. What do you do for solar or for energy power?
This I have this Rock Pals battery pack. If I'm recommending to other people, I recommend you get something a little flatter, a little more square, so that it's easier to pack around. And this one has a bunch of fail safes in it, so if it thinks it's not connected to something in power, it shuts itself off, which is a nice safety feature. But for a refrigerator, that doesn't work very good, because the compressor shuts off,
right.
And you're in the grocery store for over an hour, and you come out and everything's melted. So that didn't work well. I tried that last summer. So I really do like the simplicity of my stuff. I think that I'm probably going to try to improve the roof system for storage. My recovery tracks being up there, they're going to get dry rotted pretty quick.
Yeah, in the sun, particularly in this kind of climate here.
Right. And I think if they could stack together, I would have room for another bag of something lightweight up there. Yeah. Even if it was just extra paper towels or whatever, right. Although I don't use that many. But I'm also looking at, I'm going to turn you guys around again a little bit with this. You see how Michael's using the, it's a couple of seconds behind.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at
where Michael's using a gazelle gazebo as, I think it's a gazelle. Oh no, his is a clam, isn't it?
Mine is a clam.
Clam.
Yep. Similar to
clam
gazelle
brand, but still same thing. A portable gazebo. As his kind of garage extra storage, probably uses it when he wants to for
it just keeps the sun particularly off the motorcycle and my bikes and stuff.
Right. And for him with this big truck, he doesn't have any trouble carrying that.
Right.
I'm looking at something that will give me a similar function for some shade, but that's separate from my car or from my tracker, because I often come into camp. I'm finding this about me more and more. I often come into camp, and one of the first things I say is, don't block me in too much, because my car's the easiest one to get out and the cheapest on gas to go resupply and stuff. So I just sent an email to the iDome shelter, to Darren.
Yep.
Of iDome shelters, to ask him if he will consider helping me figure out, first off, if I can carry it.
If you can, yeah.
And because the poles are 6 feet long, and I think my roof is only 5.
Yeah.
And so, and then there's the whatever cover I get, to go over it. And if I got the whole tent thing, it's quite a bit more. And it's a little pricey, so I've asked asked him if he could help me. First off, find out if it's even possible, if it's even feasible, and then maybe we could talk about how I can afford to have one, because I have, in my history, I tried. Wow, when was that? 2013 or 14? I bought one of the Playa Dome shelters, a 20-footer, so that we could have good shade when we went to RTRs, right? And I thought, because the guy was marketing it, that one person could set it up alone.
And that's always the challenge, is trying to get these things, particularly if it's like windy or something. Oof.
And it was $1,100, and I took my entire emergency fund and bought that thing that year, and it was late getting there, and then it was ripped when it got there, so it was already broken. No returns, no refunds, no, if there's something wrong with it, it's your problem, not mine. And I was like, oh crap. So my emergency fund was gone, and I had this thing, and I had a roof rack to put it on top of, I think I had the Passport then, and the Honda Passport, Isuzu Rodeo, right? And so I knew it was going to fit on top, but I had intentions on the East Coast to be able to set up campsites. Wow, that didn't work. I got it back to Steve's property before I bought it, and set it up, and went to town for something, and came back, and the free-range cattle had destroyed it. And so I sold the frame to a neighbor for like $200 so they could build a greenhouse. But that was the end of that. And then the next thing that came up was the Gazelle tents. When they were new, they were only $250 in the very beginning. And so I got one of those early ones. And then the zipper broke, and I called the company, and the guy said, make a very neat slice in it and send me a picture so we know that the fabric's torn. And he said, but do it really neat and get tenacious tape and put it back together. And then gift that one to somebody else. I'm sending you a new tent. So Gazelle's a good company. They really will take. Their customer service is great. So they sent me a new tent. And that was easier, but I could never. It's all of those and these gazebos. The package to carry is really long.
Yeah, they're very long. That's the same. Yeah. This one, it rides on the back of my truck behind the motorcycle, but it's the width of the truck. I mean, it's probably 7.5 feet or something like that.
Right, they're really long.
They're really long.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm not doing gazebos. I looked at even the smallest of the clams, or a 4-sided one, and it's exactly as wide as the back of my car. But with the water port on the back, I don't need any more weight back there. Yeah. 25 pounds or something. I was like, yeah, no. So I am considering. I asked Darren with the iDome thing to kind of see if we can work that out. So that might help, because it would be really nice to have that extra space. And I still want a front receiver hitch. And I still want one of the hitch-mounted hammock stands on the front too. Even though the iDome can hold hammocks, I want both. Yeah. And I guess
they are cool.
Yeah, and I guess I just have. Well, the thing is then nothing's having to ride inside.
Right.
And for quick putting it out, instead of when I don't want to set up a whole base camp thing.
And that's the thing is, that's one of the reasons I'm in such a large truck, is because when I can roll into camp, there's very little setup.
Right.
And I like to be able to get in and out, particularly if you're traveling and you're driving every day. The least amount of time it takes to set up and take down, the better.
And I feel the same way with mine. It's just that not be in base camp, like knowing we're staying here over a week.
Yeah.
It would be really nice to have some extra shade and set up and be a little more comfortable.
Yeah, and like I don't set up this clam very often.
Right.
If I'm staying a day or two, it's not getting set up.
So do you find that you carry a lot of extra things just for sometimes you want it?
Yeah, just like anybody else. I mean, unfortunately, you fill the space that you have, right? Mm-hmm. So no matter what size home or what size truck you got,
right,
you fill it up.
If you have a closet, it'll end up full.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I do have a lot of the what ifs. Over the last couple of years, I have occasionally, it's like every couple of months, I'll go through the truck and I'll look at something and I'll be like, why do I have this? I'll give you an example. I had 8 plates on board at one point, and then I go, what am I going to host a dinner party?
Right.
Okay.
So I just bought 2 mugs like this because I love enamel, and I was like,
Yeah.
what? These take space. They don't stack. They don't fold. But I'm loving it so much. I'm just gonna make room for this.
Yeah.
And I think we have to do that too.
You do. Occasionally, you have to have something that you enjoy and like at least.
Yeah, because I can be almost too practical sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other advice for the low budget people or the folks who are dreamers and not
absolutely.
Sure?
I mean, it's not about the stuff. I tell people this all the time. It is not about the stuff. It's not how many things you can bolt to the side of your vehicle. It's not about
the name brand,
the name brands and the glitz and glam. It's about is getting out there and doing it. So regardless of whether or not you're riding your bicycle with 2 ball tires, if you're out there doing it, you're leaps and bounds ahead of the guy that's driving around with the name brands and stuff strapped all over the thing,
and he goes to Walmart.
Think about this: every dollar that you spend on a piece of equipment is a dollar that you could spend on food or fuel or something that is actually getting you out to see things.
Right.
And that's what that's the advice I live by.
Yeah. So, and I often tell people, and I think you'll agree with this. I tell people take half the crap and twice the money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which equates to half the crap, twice the amount of time that you get to spend on the crap.
Right. And I mean, come on, a whole week down here where I can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning while it's quiet and nobody else is moving around too much. Maybe the fishermen are out, and I can walk the beach at my own speed when it's cool, watch the sunrise, talk to God or whatever I'm in the mood for, right? Yeah.
I told somebody the other day, obviously minus my, call it my cell phone bill and, Starlink bill or whatever, but my actual on the ground costs I spent in 1 month down here from February 10th to March 10th, I spent $75.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's like the bomb.
That's it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Now, my $300 in gas getting down here, that's one thing.
Absolutely. And I didn't move in that time, so
right.
I wasn't spending money on fuel.
And you could space that out. You could, we've been in many places, and iOverlander works down here really well. And my eyes, the sun's a little too much, people. iOverlander's working really good as an app for finding things like free camping. And we've passed many, many little spots where there's lots of RVs camped on a spit of land, in a beautiful spot. So I'm very much aware that if you wanted to drag out this trip many months, and that's your adventure, you could keep the cost down pretty good by doing that.
Yeah, I haven't spent any amount of money on any kind of, quote, lodging in I don't know how long, 6 months at least, so really your cost is food and movement and gas.
Well, and any repairs, because we've had one tire get shredded.
Yep, that can happen. And obviously the more you move about, the higher your repair bill and gas bill are going to be, right? So I've always gone with the thing is I like to immerse myself in the area, so I tend to move less. I'll move and then I'll stay somewhere, and then I'll move and I'll stay somewhere. So my overhead, because of that, is lower. Where I do see a lot, just watching people come down for the winter overlanders and van lifers, that everybody they move on almost a daily basis. They're just constantly moving. And I think that's one of the things. I think you and I were talking about this the other day. I think it contributes to the burnout rate. I see most people do not make it more than 10 months to a year on the road full time, and they're burned out and they're done.
But I agree with you. I think that the form of travel we've been doing in the Good Vibe Tribe as a group is. And I have spent money that I never would have spent if I was traveling alone, because I never would. Oh, of course, I wouldn't have met some cool people too. Okay, but I wouldn't have stayed at, how many places have we paid for? 2 nights at this one and 2 nights at that one. I don't pay to stay places.
Yeah.
And then there were 4 or 5 restaurant meals. I don't do that either.
Yeah.
Because I know that those things are where the big expenses are going to
Yeah, I don't do a lot of that either. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll go out to a restaurant, as an example, even here, yeah, which generally speaking is cheaper than certainly in the States, but you can still spend what would be the equivalent of like probably a week of food
Yeah.
not going out.
Right. And because I was only eating meat a week ago and I wanted to stay with the group, I wanted to connect. I mean, I made a commitment to be with these people and to work through whatever was going to happen. And so we all went to dinner together, and I was prepared to just sit there and drink Topo Chico, which is mineral water, and just watch them eat. I was fine with that. But then I was like, maybe I should just take a deep breath and spend a little bit of money. So I bought a steak.
Yeah.
And okay, in the States, this is not an expensive meal. It was $21, okay?
Yeah.
But that's $21 that I might have been able to eat for 2 weeks on that in other circumstances.
For sure, you definitely could.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but, this is part of the adventure I'm on, is traveling with people as well as Baja. And I have had those. Have you had these experiences traveling with other people?
Absolutely, and like you, I think we're probably similar to that. We're both mostly solo travelers, right?
Yeah.
And most of the time I'm by myself.
Yeah.
But I have. Well, in fact, your group, half of your group, I traveled down the East Coast with.
Right.
We traveled from New England down to Overland Expo East in Virginia, and then down to North Carolina. And yes, to answer your question, I think when you get into a group, I kind of nicknamed it a bunch of alpacas. It's just kind of herd. It's like herd animals.
Yeah.
Trying to get everybody on the same page is difficult,
Yes.
as you know.
Yeah.
And you tend to spend more money.
Yeah.
For sure, because if one person wants to, go to a restaurant, typically what happens is
the
group
bar
goes.
thing. I'm not really a bar person. I'm not a bar fly, right? I'm not used to being around people who like to drink a lot.
Yeah.
But
Because that's the social element comes into it, which equates to spending more money.
Right. And then also being on that diet I've been on, it wasn't okay really for me. I don't know if you know this, but I'm trying to heal MS, and I met some people that have, and so I think I'm getting there because I'm starting to feel stronger, and it's always been my left side, but so the alcohol thing, I was like, well, I'm not going to do that for 6 months, and then here I am on the trip, and I'm like, but I got to change my ideas about what I'm doing at 4 months because I don't want to change what's possible for my experience on
Absolutely,
the trip.
yeah.
So
there's a little bit of
I found
give
a
and
way.
take and balance.
Yeah. I found a way. I did some research. I found out that bourbon, even though I don't really love it, I'm not a strong alcohol person. I like red wine, but I found out it doesn't have as many additives after it becomes alcohol, and so that's a little safer. So I've been mineral water and put a splash in it or whatever, So I've tried a few things, and then I finally the other day gave in and said I'm just drinking coffee. I'm not wanting it. So then coffee with Kahlua, that's a good drink, people.
And since Kahlua is Mexican and native to here,
so I may work on my little. I have plans for a mini.
Somebody asked. I'm just reading questions here.
Okay.
What about drinking water? Where do you get it, and how hard is it to find? That's a good question.
You want to go?
Drinking water is depending on what your setup for your rig is. It ranges. Mexico has what they call agua purificada places. So in almost every village, you can go and get drinking water, whether it's in the local tienda. It goes through filtration system. You can bring your own vessel. They charge you by how much you take. Super cheap. I mean,
it was like for 5 gallons.
Exactly. It's like 10, 12 cents for 5 gallons. It's very cheap.
Because water's life, Yeah. You need air and water, or you're dead.
Yep. We are here actually in this Arroyo. Interestingly enough, we have a well. I have a purification system on board my vehicle, so it's basically what it does is it runs the water through a UV light filter, and it kills anything that's bad in it. So I can just out of that I'm pumping out of the well. So
and some of us with gravity feed filters could do the same thing.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
But so the water is certainly my experience on a bike. was a little bit different because we could only go so far. I could carry like 11 liters of water, and you had to get to the next thing in order to get water.
And water's heavy when you're on a bike.
Very heavy.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, comes into a vehicle too. It's how much water can you carry on board your truck. Is kind of the amount of time that you can spend quote
out.
off grid somewhere, right?
And I've been so blessed with that water port that one of my followers bought me that TJ Shack.
Yep.
Do you remember with the
with
the Bronco camper?
Yeah.
They gifted me that for my trip.
Very nice.
And so yesterday I pressurized it and used it the sprayer for the first time. But I set it up. That one is food grade plastic, and it's a thicker. It's also roto molded, so it's a little thicker. You can put ice in that stuff, and so or Gatorade. The marketing materials were interesting, but so far I've only put agua purificado because I can unlock that and take it off and take it in the store. And at some of these purificado places, the guy comes out to your car, gets your jug, takes it to a sink and washes it off. Then they fill it and bring it back to the car. That was
True.
Cool.
And there are places where you can drive in with your rig, and if you have a hose, they can get it into it, without even having to move a container around.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And when we went for ice, that's pretty simple to get as well.
Yep.
Because okay, so ice is, I never say this right, so correct me if I'm wrong, but hielo?
Yeah.
Did I do it right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I always try to skip a letter or something. Hielo is there's ice houses often right beside the purificado.
Because that's what they're doing. They're taking the agua purificado water and they're making ice out of it. And what's nice down here, particularly, is that usually you can get block ice, which is nice.
And do you want to tell them how that comes out? Because a lot of people don't know the old school way, right?
They crank it, right?
Oh no! They go into like the room or the con box.
Oh, you're talking about where they store it? Yeah.
And they have the ice tongs.
Yeah.
And they grab this block that's as high as my chest and huge like this, and they bring it out and they go quanto.
Right.
And I'm like, what do you mean? They got an ice pick, and they're like, they chop off. So I've learned to take my cooler over to the thing and say,
show them the
media esta, right? And just have them, so half of this.
I was thinking of where they crank it to break it down into the chips or cubes or whatever.
Cubes, there is a little machine in the same place to make other shapes. So, but it's that too cheap.
Yep. Super cheap.
And the block ice lasts, I don't know, in that little cooler I've got,
much longer because it has less surface, the surface area.
Less surface, right, with the air. But,
obviously, everybody's always thinking water in Mexico is bad, and it's really kind of a not totally true. That problem largely is in tourist areas where the infrastructure is overtaxed. So if you go on the East Coast, like Cancun or somewhere, not to be graphic about it, but the problem is because it's overtaxed and there's so many people there, the sewage system is close and is getting into the water supply. So here in Baja, there's very few people. You don't have that issue. Probably could drink the water, and I do. I can't tell you how many times I got up in the middle of the night and just drank the water out of my sink that didn't go through the filter that's right out of the well, and I'm fine. Yeah.
Some people's constitution is a little better than others, and so if you're sensitive or you intuitively feel like you shouldn't be drinking it or having the ice, then you don't. But some of us I've already had parasites. I've already been where can I remember the name of the town? On the Caribbean side of Costa Rica, really close to, I can't remember the name of the town, but really close to the border crossing. There's a tribe of indigenous people, and I visited, and they made me coffee, and I drank water and stuff with ice in it, and then the next morning I learned, I ended up in the hospital, but the next morning I learned that the septic tank was 4 feet from the well.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And so, of course I got sick.
That's usually what the problem is.
And it wasn't Bree. I can't remember the name of that tribe, but whatever. So, it's no fun, but I've already had it, so if I'm going to get sick. I'm just drinking a lot of mineral water because I know that the electrolytes that are already in mineral water, I don't have to buy extra mineral. I don't have to buy the electrolytes to go in it. It's basically got pretty much.
I know a lot of my travels in Africa, we would end up drinking bottled water, beer, or soda, believe it or not, because it was almost cheaper than getting purified water.
Right.
So, go
And
figure.
this mineral water I'm buying is 23 a 23 pesos is a 2 liter is what, $1 and a
the
quarter
exchange rate right now is
something?
around 18, 19, so yeah, it's about buck and a quarter.
Something. But it's cheap enough that then I don't have to worry about my electrolyte levels the same. I do have stuff here, you guys, some of you all know this, I have the ingredients to make my own electrolyte mix. So if I feel like I need it, or if I'm getting leg cramps, I'll take a little extra magnesium. But some people can afford to, bring packages and packages of that stuff. Or some of these guys had cases of Gatorade or Pedialyte with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting down here in Mexico, the Pedialyte thing it's one of the staple ingredients. You go into any one of these tiendas and I joke all the time, but unfortunately, I mean, Mexico has one of the highest rates of diabetes in the world. And it's easy to find out why, because you go into any tienda and it's the 3 staples are soda, chips, and cookies. You can get that anywhere.
Anywhere. Galletas, Well, not so much coffee here, huh?
I don't see. Yeah, it's funny.
Probably south more, like where I was. It's more coffee.
Central American, you get and then and of course they put so much sugar in it.
Well,
A lot of times when they're drinking the coffee, and it's.
Okay, but in Nicaragua, have you been there?
Yeah, I've been there.
Oh, okay. Because their coffee was incredible.
Incredible.
But if you go to the back of the regular folks mercado, right, where all the guys who have gotten plastered, fall down drunk last night, they go in the morning and there's these rows and rows of tables, and they use jicaras, the gourd, bowls and spoons. Well, anyways, in the morning they put on this big spaghetti pot. And they put a whole jar of instant coffee in it because the coffee beans are only for export because they make more money on it. So they buy the cheap instant coffee, throw it in the pot, and they hack off a couple of chunks of sugar cane and just boil the crap out of this thing. It gets lower, they just add more water, and it becomes tea. And, over time it becomes tea. But it's really sweet tea. And then there's another pot running that's always whatever greasy, fatty meat they can pour in there, and a few vegetables. And that's how they are, wake up enough so they can work for the day. They go in and they have that shock of sugary coffee.
And maybe an 11 o'clock cerveza, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Too, but
Yeah. But that's a thing.
It's a thing, for sure.
So, how are we doing time-wise? Let me see if I can see you. I have to take the glasses off to look again. Have we been an hour? You probably have. I go overtime so much.
Overtime.
Well, yeah, whatever overtime is. Oh yeah, we're right at an hour. So, do you have more you'd like to say or tell people about your channels, your future plans,
Well, future plans, I hope to continue down the Pan American. This summer, I'll probably be back in the Western United States. And,
with the truck.
With the truck, yeah. And if you guys out there want to ask me any questions out there, certainly I try to answer everybody that sends me something. So just hit me up at Drive the Globe or on any of the social medias or on YouTube or on my website, and I'll be happy to help out any way I can. And and we'll probably be hooking up somewhere somewhere on the road, as we all do. We kind of all travel around, and eventually we run into each other.
Right. Is it okay to mention that you're going home to deal with the family thing?
Yes, my mom, we just put into a kind of assisted living place, and so I've got to fly out of Mexico actually to Connecticut, which is where I'm originally from. and deal with that, sell her condo and
Right.
deal with that. And unfortunately for me, that's also where my very little remains of what I've kept after I stole everything
Right.
and went on the road is in her basement. And Land Rover,
Right.
Which I took across Africa. I've owned that truck for like 28, 29 years now. So it's in her garage. So I've got to find a new home
For
for
those things.
the little Land Rover and bring it. I've considered actually bringing it down here to Mexico.
Uh-huh.
Because it'd be a kind
It'd
of
be
a cool
great down
little,
here.
you know, it's about the size of your truck
Right.
actually. So,
Right.
but yeah, so I
Yeah.
got to go deal with that.
Deal
So
with
that's
that.
going to be
So,
coming up.
so see, people, we're real people. And,
You know,
and these
yeah.
things, stages of life happen, and we
Things
have
go
to
on,
deal
yeah,
with them.
for
And,
sure.
but that also tells people that you can fly down here, and you
can.
could rent vehicles. But if you rent them and try to drive them on a beach, you're probably
get
going
stuck.
to destroy the car.
Yeah, actually, funny. We were talking about it last night. Flying in and out of southern Baja here is actually fairly inexpensive, surprisingly.
Yeah.
So I can get some pretty good air. Sarah was talking about that. I think last night. I think
Yeah.
she's flying back to Canada. And
Yeah.
did she say it was like $80 US or something?
One way, so
Yeah.
it was like a 200 and
Yeah.
I don't know, a few dollars round trip or something.
So it is actually less money than you would anticipate.
Than you would think.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and back when I was flying back and forth to Costa Rica, I used to find $99 round trip tickets. So I mean, sometimes that's
Yep.
part
yeah.
of the plan,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Especially if you don't really want to do all the driving.
Right.
How hard would it be if somebody wanted to rent a place to stay down here that wasn't too gringoified?
There's a lot of little casitas. You got to know what to look for. So, example, Cabo Pomo with this little village that's 4
Just
miles
back.
north of us. I had some friends come down and visit me last winter, and I want to say like the cheap little casitas. It's funny. My friend Jay joked it was kind of like he called it a concrete tent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a little room. It's got a bed. It's got a bathroom. Oh, it's
Yes.
hot water and
Not
everything.
much, but-
I think it was about $50 a night.
Yeah. Okay.
So, certainly cheaper than,
$50 or pesos?
no, dollars.
Dollars,
It was
okay.
about $50 a night. I just got back from living in a tent for a
Right.
month and a half on my
Right,
bike.
on the
So,
bike.
oh, definitely.
And you have a neighbor here that
Yeah, I have a neighbor up here. We call him Rock Jim. He's been camped here all season since I think he got here in November, and he's in a tent.
Yeah.
He's been here the entire season. What's nice about this kind of area, you don't have to worry about weather really. Right, so it never rains. The weather is kind of the same every day, just
Right.
varying degrees of how windy it is.
Of windy, yeah. But the windy's not bad right now,
No.
so
Yeah.
I don't know what else I can think of right now, but this has been really great.
Yeah, it's been
Michael.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
enjoy visiting with
Yeah,
you.
it's been good.
And guys, how cool's the truck, right? Everybody loves his truck. It's a thing, and we're getting
a thing.
It's a thing. You're getting to see different views of it like that, and it's a whole. I don't know if you want to call it a whole apartment in there. It's more of a house than an apartment.
Yeah, and you can definitely, if you want to see what my truck looks like, you're welcome to go online on my channel or.
Yeah, you have tours of it.
Oh yeah, all the tours and everything are
And
online.
the tiny house people or somebody.
Tiny House Giant Journey did a video on it, and I think it's got on YouTube now. It's like at 4 million views or something.
Wow.
People have
Pretty
checked it
popular.
out.
Yeah, pretty popular. So, and I just thought of something when getting water, in the grocery stores and stuff. You can often buy those 5-gallon.
Garrafons, they're 5-gallon jugs. Yeah,
that are full of water. So
Yep.
some of that for some of you guys need to know that. Met another person down here from Oregon. Well, a couple down here from Oregon, living simply. And they wanted one of my stickers because they saw that I was doing simple things. And they're in a 2-door Jeep Wrangler soft top with a tent. And I just love it.
It's perfect. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and it's I tell people there is no correct way of traveling. I did Africa in a rooftop tent for months. I've done the back of trucks. I've done now inside of a truck. I did before this truck. I used to have a trailer that I built, so I lived in the trailer. And everything has its pluses and minuses, right? I mean,
Right.
There's no perfect thing out there.
I can't see the messages. I was going to look one more time, but yeah, they're not coming up for me.
Don't forget the thumbs up.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Don't forget the thumbs up.
Yep, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for being here. We will see you next Sunday, 9:30 Arizona time. I still try to do that. And yeah, keep living simple. You can travel light and often, because that will change your perspective about everything.
Absolutely.
Yep. And man, walking on a beach, the different walking in sand gives you a different exercise, and the walking in the little waves, it pushes you different. It's way better than a gym, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And you're outside enjoying the beautiful air.
Nature's a thing.
Yep.
All right, Michael, thank you for being with us.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Okay.
See you guys out there. Perfect.